Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. This is a special edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show because we have a pay-per-view coming up this weekend, and whoever thinks about pay-per-views thinks about pay-per-view prediction shows, which are the best reason to do any kind of wrestling podcast-related stuff. We have Survivor Series coming up this weekend, World Wrestling Entertainment's Survivor Series, and as usual, I have decided to not do this alone. I want to have a guest. Better than that, I have two guests directly from $1 Million Studios. Ladies and gentlemen, the benchmark of professional wrestling, Silky Baines, and his acolyte, his manager, his second in command, Chris Speez. Guys, they're from the Speez and the Benchmark Show, by the way. Guys, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us, Warren Hayes. We just had you on our show, and you returned the favor immediately. That's some high-quality service right there.
Well, actually, I was kind of invited myself.
That's kind of what Silky
I'm the
does.
affirmative action guest on this show.
Yeah. Needed some, we
needed some color.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, my God.
Bring some soul to the proceedings.
No, that's it. Well, Silky did sort of, make me feel bad, so, it was kind of like, he invited himself. It's like when you're having a dinner party and, someone arrives and not invited, but they, they brought like tuna salad. So you're like, okay, well, you can bring your tuna salad
exactly.
in.
It's like, I don't know which one I'm more offended with. You calling me the girlfriend on my show, or you calling me tuna salad now?
Exactly. Or just saying, it's sort of like when you have a party and you forget to invite the black guy and he shows up. It's just one of those things that happens. So.
Oh, boy, this is going to be a fun one.
We're off to a rousing start.
Yes, we are. Folks, if you don't know who these wonderful gentlemen are, Chris Speez and Silky I was going to call you Barnes again. Silky Baines. They do the Speez and the Benchmark Show, which you can find on YouTube at tinyurl.com/Speez Benchmark. You can find them on Periscope as well. They have recently been promoted to super broadcaster status, guys.
Super broadcasters. We're waiting to hear back from the good folks at Periscope to get our official super podcast status. But
that's badass.
That means they start sending us checks for all the wonderful super hearts that we get from listeners of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, the Speez and the Benchmark Show. Got a lot of folks that listen to our show, listen to your show, and vice versa. So, we're very grateful for everybody for chipping in to help the cause, man. It's great.
Well, I'm really happy for you guys because I've said it before and I'll say it again. You guys have the most fan-friendly podcast out there. You have, like I said, you're on Periscope, you're on YouTube, you simulcast, you're constantly reading comments from everyone, and also you have a phone line where people can call in, old school, and chat you guys up. I think it's fantastic. You really, really have a fantastic show, and I'm glad things are working out for you guys. It's very much deserved, and as Chris mentioned, I was just previously on their show talking about NXT War Games. We did some predictions, did some discussion, and now we're going to do this over with Survivor Series. But before we do, talking about your show and whatnot, what's cool, another thing that's cool about your show is, I'm just a schmuck with an opinion, right? Whereas you guys, you actually,
opinions, so.
no, you guys you're actually involved in the business, right? You guys work. Silky, you're actually a wrestler. Chris, you're like Silky, you're a wrestler, right?
Yeah.
Chris, you hang out with the wrestler, right? Yeah, that's the way it works.
For 15 years, I've been doing it.
Yeah, and that's fantastic because when you guys, then you guys talk and it comes from a place of experience, which is really cool. Tell us a bit about what you guys talk about on Speez and the Benchmark, and tell us everything. Tell us all.
When I had the idea to start doing a wrestling podcast, one of the things I wanted to make sure that I did is have a professional wrestler as the sidekick, because there's a lot of fans. But the sidekick, because I came up with the idea, so you by proxy become the sidekick. So
I naturally took it over, and we're still debating because I still say it should have been Benchmark first instead of Speez, but
no, absolutely not. Speez and the Benchmark rolls off the tongue better. But anyway, my background is in entertainment. I worked in film and television for a long time. I'm a writer and director of indie film, so I tend to give the perspective from the entertainment side of things, where Silky is the guy who's been in there and actually done it himself. So
Yes, I give it from the wrestling side of things, and a lot of my opinions are just that. Like, it's kind of hard once you become a professional wrestler. It's hard to separate being a fan. So I look at a lot of things that maybe fans don't necessarily think about, because I'm thinking of, okay, how's this working from a wrestling standpoint?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's hey, it's been great up to this point, man. We started, I guess we started July 2nd was when we switched over to the Speez and the Benchmark show that you know now. And, just in this short period of time, man, built a nice little following, and we're loving it, man. We have a great time. We go on every Monday night after Monday Night Raw, and every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time, like Warren said. tinyurl.com/Speez Benchmark, at Speez Benchmark over there on Periscope as well. So give us a follow and come check out the show. We're always anxious to hear for some fresh perspectives on the program.
That's fantastic. And I'm really glad you guys are here. We're going to have a great time, I do believe, discussing the million-hour pay-per-view that's going to take place on Sunday. Oh, just as much as War Games is going to be like a nice, tight little package, a 4-hour pay-per-view with some extraordinary matches. Here we're going in with a 2-hour pre-show. Then we got the regular pay-per-view on top of that. I don't know if you guys remember SummerSlam, but that was the setup as well. And man, the pay-per-view, it was just a slog to go through. We had the mixed tag team match with Almas and Zelina Vega versus Rusev and Lana, which wasn't very good. There was, I mean, and then there's so much talking. There's just so much talk. I don't know. And recently, I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm going with this. I've been rewatching some old pay-per-views and some old WWF pay-per-views, and they're starting the show and saying, "Oh yeah, just before the pay-per-view, this happened on Sunday Night Heat," and I'm like, "Wow!" And then I sort of started getting really nostalgic of those days where you'd have like a live hour of Heat just before the pay-per-view that would just tie up some angles and sweeten the deal on a couple of situations, and I'm like, man, do we really have to sit through a 2-hour pre-show, or should they just go back to that formula and feed us some angles a bit? I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, I'm always for, something like Sunday Night Heat. I look, the 2-hour pre-show, a 1-hour pre-show is too much, to be honest with you. We have so much build coming up to these things. We hear about them the weeks leading up to the show. We all know what to expect, and I understand that, the WWE folks want to get their hosts in front of the fans and get them fired up for the program and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, two hours is a lot.
Yeah, 2 hours is a
lot. That's a lot.
I can do 1 hour because you're gonna have a match, maybe two, so that's 15 to 30 minutes depending, and then 30 minutes of talking. It's just so much talking. They go over each thing, which is, I guess it's good because of the fact that they're literally leading you up to each of the matches. So they go over each match. They show all the stuff from Raw or SmackDown that's happened that got you to this point. So, it's almost like when you watch a TV show and before it's like previously on Supernatural, and then it shows all the shit that happens just in a quick blurb to catch you up.
Yeah, and look, to not to steal from the format of our show on your show, but Daniel Price just said it here in the YouTube chat. Pay attention to how blatantly they explain things to fans repeatedly, as if they bank on everybody being idiots with short attention spans. And that's the thing. We're seeing the same promo packages that we've seen for the 2 weeks leading up to the pay-per-view, right before the pay-per-view. I think it's different when
the pay-per-views were singular. So
well, yeah, and when the pay-per-views were singular events that you actually had to buy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now with everybody that's got the network, you've seen all the shit before. Leading up to it. So,
all. Like I say, I'm all for catching people who may have missed a week or two, or are just watching because someone told them. So it's giving them a little insight so they know what they're watching. But we don't need detail in literally the same package I just watched on Raw and SmackDown and then I'm seeing that package on the pre-show, and then probably before the actual match happens on the pay-per-view.
That's what I was going to add in. On top of that, they're going to show it just before the match starts. And thanks for pointing out the chat. I forgot to mention that we do have a live chat going. We got Daniel and Jason in right now. And guys, if you want more people in the chat, tweet it out. Tweet this link out. Send it out into the universe. Bob Aruski just jumped in. He's a regular viewer of the Speez and Benchmark show.
Yeah,
So
shout out to Bob Aruski.
definitely shout out. So send that out into the universe. Give us a thumbs up. That also always helps. YouTube likes them thumbs up. Back to talking about just the build up to Survivor Series. Well, we haven't been talking about the build up. We're going to start talking about the build up. WWE was in a really weird place recently as far as their events schedule was. Like, we moved from Hell in a Cell to Super Showdown to the thing in Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel. I really had a brain fart on that moment, and then right on over to Evolution, and then 2 weeks after, it was the opposite. It was Evolution first, then Crown Jewel, then 2 weeks after Crown Jewel, we're here at Survivor Series. There was basically, essentially, 3 weeks of build, like officially to the pay-per-view. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know what you think, but I'm okay with the 3 weeks of build because most of the matches, at least until Becky Lynch got injured, I was really looking forward to the majority of these matches, regardless of the build. I don't know what you guys think, but the quick build here didn't really bother me.
Well, I mean, because of the nature of this show, there's no need for build. There's no need for any storyline because it's Raw versus SmackDown. So, they've established that last year that at Survivor Series, the one time a year where Raw and SmackDown go head to head, even though they did that at Crown Jewel too. But it's all the champions: Universal Champion versus WWE Champion, Intercontinental versus US, Women's versus Women. Tag teams. So there's really not much you can build on that. They tried to build on the Raw versus SmackDown angle, which this year I felt like last year when they did the whole invasion thing of like SmackDown came and just beat up everyone on Raw. Yeah. That was amazing. And then I was a little let down that they basically did the same thing again, only with the women. And I mean, you got the Becky Lynch moment, which was great, but I just thought that it wasn't like they didn't think much through to the build.
Yeah, well, like you said, you got champion versus champion, so it's I'm with you, Warren. This is one of those times when it's almost like they didn't insult our intelligence. They didn't feel like they had to tell us again and again and again and again, like this is what you're going to see. I kind of went the opposite direction with us. There are certain things, and the most noticeable one to me was Seth Rollins. And I know we're going to get to the individual matches here, but in terms of the build, Seth Rollins is in the middle of this, this feud with Dean Ambrose and trying to figure out what's going on there. And Rollins actually said on Monday night, he said, right now, I don't give a damn about Shinsuke Nakamura. And I just felt like that was such a misstep on his part. You can't do that.
No.
You can't do that before a big pay-per-view. Yeah. And I know what he was getting at, and I know I don't think it was a shot at Nakamura, and I don't think it was a way of trying to downplay that match. But I have to feel like the folks in the back probably cringed when they heard that come out of his mouth because if he doesn't care about the match, what the hell do I care about it? You know what I mean?
But then again, it's probably scripted. Seth is a company guy nonetheless. Someone fed him that line, and I had the exact same situation. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But yeah, we will talk about that when we get to Seth and Nakamura. And just actually before we get into the matches, you guys were mentioning it, talking about Raw versus SmackDown. I'm kind of done with Survivor Series. The only stakes there being is Shane doesn't like Stephanie and Stephanie doesn't like Shane. Like, I'm kind of done with that. I would really want some actual real stakes to the Survivor Series matches. Something like, there's been ideas being tossed around, like the survivors get the final positions in the Royal Rumble, for instance, which I think would be a fantastic idea, or a purse just money. Why can't our wrestlers wrestle for money? All of our sports, everyone else in sports, their contracts, they all have contracts. They're all making money. It makes news. Why couldn't the purse be just as simple as, okay, well, the winners of the there's a $50,000 purse for the survivors of each team that's split amongst themselves. And then you can create really interesting storylines. Then you can create some betrayal within the team, because one guy doesn't want to split it with two other dudes,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what, are we on the same page as far as stakes go? Are we fed up of the sibling rivalry as being the only...
Nobody outside of the McMahon family gives a shit about the McMahon family sibling rivalry. And that's not just me being an anti-Stephanie and Shane McMahon guy, because if you've watched my show, that's kind of my gimmick, You watched our show, that's Stephanie McMahon just makes my skin crawl, and Shane's not a hell of a lot better. But yeah, I mean, nobody gives a shit about that. I love your idea. Look, we've seen things in the past where the naysayers will say, well, it's a scripted fight. How can you have money for the winner? Well,
they just... And to people who say that, I say,
exactly.
Look at the fucking first season of the Mixed Match Challenge. The winner picked a donation.
Things.
Yeah, it bothers me so much. The winner picked the charity that they were fighting for.
Right.
But wrestling's a scripted thing, right? So it's like they knew that Asuka and Miz were going to win this tournament. So why bring the charities in?
Yeah,
for sure.
Why didn't you just write a check to the charity?
Yeah,
you script who's going to win.
And one thing that was interesting just recently, when Bobby Lashley had just turned, when he was in his mini feud with Finn Balor on Raw, a couple of times Corey Graves on commentary was talking about, there was this one time especially where Leo Rush cost Bobby Lashley the match via disqualification, and Corey Graves just flat out said, oh, Lashley won't be happy about that. He's getting the loser's end of the purse. And I'm like, well, this is cool. It's just like, it makes sense. Of course Lashley would be pissed off at that, right?
Yeah, and we've heard this in other sports as well. I mean, I don't know, I heard this in the NBA several years ago when they were trying to figure out how to, how do we amp up the slam dunk contest? How do we get the guys who really could come and showcase, get the big names back in the slam dunk contest? And every single guy that they asked said, put some money in it.
Mm-hmm.
Put some money in it, make it about money. And there's absolutely no reason why the idea that you just proposed couldn't work, especially with the types of characters.
It's fucking work. You give them one of those big
absolutely,
gimmicky
man.
checks, and no harm, no foul. You don't have to actually give away the money, but
that's not the point.
I work on a fucking indie show for an NWA show where we gave the winner of a Battle Royal this big gimmicky $10,000 check.
You ain't getting anything close. You might get $10 for it.
You might just get the big gimmick check.
There you go. That's right. No, I love the idea, and I'm with you. The sibling rivalry thing.
And I mean, even past the sibling rivalry, just the brand. I mean, WWE's one united thing. So Raw, SmackDown, it doesn't matter. It's all going to WWE, i.e. Vince McMahon's pocket. So I get treating it like my show's better, but it's like no one cares for the other 10 or 11 fucking pay-per-views about Raw or SmackDown being better until Survivor Series comes around. Then you get the whole the other team's the B show, we're the A show. Yeah. And it's the same shit regurgitated year after fucking year after fucking year. Like, I don't understand why they have to be at odds. Just more, it's like,
if it was maintained during the year, because it's the same thing. Like, if you don't shape up on my show, you're fired. Well, it's like, okay, well, I'll just end up on SmackDown or I'll just end up on Raw. It doesn't really matter. Daniel Price in the chat says, give me Spud Webb out of a cannon doing a 360 windmill dunk and I'm in.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's exactly what we want. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the matches. We're going to start this. We're going to go with I'm running down the card as presented on WWE.com, so I'm not necessarily presenting it in the order that I'd want or that is actually going to end up on the card. It's just what's on WWE right
Sounds
now.
Good.
So the first match that we're going to talk about is this cluster, the 10-man Survivor Series. Yeah, pretty much. Chad Gable and Bobby Roode, team captains of Team Raw, which include the Ascension and the B Team. Wait, this is confusing. This is all Raw guys?
Yeah, these are all Raw guys.
Where am I Smack? I just realized I don't have a Smack. They didn't put up the SmackDown guys on the picture.
Yeah, so this is your 10 Raw guys right here.
These are the 10 Raw guys here, the Revival and Lucha House Party against the Usos. The Clones, for fuck's sake. The New Day, Sanity, and who am I missing?
Sanity and
the Good Brothers.
Thank you.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
We don't have to spend much time talking about this. Who do you got?
Yeah, the most exciting thing in this is going to be to see exactly how much shit Silky is going to give me when the Revival inevitably get eliminated by somebody completely shitty and they get screwed over yet again, so I can have my meltdown, and Silky will probably videotape it again so that we'll show it on the fucking show on Monday, because damn it, when are we going to get the Revival doing something?
That sounder you heard was my Negro Damas sounder, which means I'm about to make a bold prediction.
Here it comes, Negro Damas, folks.
That within maybe 30 seconds of this match, the Revival will be fucking eliminated.
That's horse shit, and you know it. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to happen.
It's going to happen. I guarantee.
One of these days, the Revival are going to get what they
it's going to be one
deserve.
of those things where Dawson's going to be talking shit, and the other guy's going to come up, roll them up, 1, 2, 3. Revival will be the first fucking team out.
Some sawed-off little prick like Grand Matalik's going to come and fucking roll them up, and you watch.
Chris, we are kindred souls on this one here, because I myself wonder who did the Revival hurt backstage? Whose heart did Scott Dawson break? Because there's no reason for them to be treated the way. I mean, this summer they were beating Roman Reigns. They were pinning Roman Reigns in tag team matches. Now, hang on. No, wait a minute. Hang on a second.
Let's not over romanticize. These were because they were infighting and they got lucky.
They did not get lucky.
They got lucky.
They pinned them twice.
They're top fucking guys like Warren said.
I'm speaking French because that's what I do when I get hectic.
Once, twice, probably 3 fucking times. They lost to Lucha House Party. These motherfuckers come out with a fucking Mexican sounder and the Mexican flag and churros and sombreros and all other racist shit, and they fucking lost to them.
I know. Now, here's the thing. Hang on a second. Wait a minute. All right? I'm bringing control back here. God damn it. We're not on Tucker Carlson, for fuck's sake. Now, the thing here is there's something going on with the Revival that we are not entirely aware of. There is no reason for them to be to be treated the way they are. And unfortunately, Chris, as much as it pains me to say, I do believe that the Revival are going to get humiliated again.
I totally agree. Look, how many
times within 30 seconds?
How many times have they just gotten fed to whatever flavor of the month happens to be there? Whether it's DX coming back for
the
Raw,
B team, the B team.
We call up the fucking Lucha House Party, and of all the teams that you can job to the Lucha House Party, it's the Revival. And this happened.
Just a regurgitation of the. What makes it even worse is that this is just the Mexicools done a little bit better, not as racist.
No, it's horrible, and this is just
it's definitely horrible, but
a few weeks removed from the Revival taking Dolph and Drew McIntyre to the limit in an absolutely fantastic tag team title match on Raw. And at that point, those of us who are fans of the Revival said, well, shit. Okay, they didn't get the titles. Would have liked to see them get the titles.
There you go.
But you look at a match like that, and the people backstage have to be saying, holy shit, these guys can really go. Maybe we ought to do something with them. Nope, they're jobbing out.
And there's one thing that we have to, that's important to remember, and one thing that's been lost in the art of tag team wrestling is that even back in the territory days, if 2 singles guys got together to face a tag team, there was no shame in losing to an established tag team because they're an established fucking tag team.
Yep, that was the whole gimmick. Cornette said it on his podcast last week. He was talking about the same thing. There was no shame in a top single star losing along with another top single star to a tag team. And the way you sold it was the tag team works together. Their teamwork is what made it happen. And that's the whole gig of it. It's the same reason that tag team guys didn't mind jobbing out in singles matches. When you broke up the Rock and Roll Express and you had Ricky Morton in a singles match, he didn't mind going under in a match like that because he didn't have his partner there with him, and that's his strength.
And that's why the Revival were pinning Roman Reigns. They pinned him twice.
Totally gotten away from that. It's insane.
Didn't on one of those occasions he eat a spear from like Lashley, so it wasn't.
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
whatever it was, they
details.
Daniel Price said it. Tully had solo feuds with Dusty. Arn had solo feuds with Muda.
Yep.
How many still remember them to this day as a top 3 tag team of all time?
There you go.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And Bob Aruski's there. Revival are a throwback 80s, 90s tag team. You put them in the middle of the 80s and let them make the territory circuit, those guys would be millionaires by now because they'd be absolutely killing it. Absolutely killing it.
Who's winning, Raw or SmackDown?
SmackDown, no doubt about it.
Don't give a fuck.
I'll pick for both of us. We're going SmackDown.
Well, I got SmackDown too, and I also expect this match to go really, really quickly because it's on the pre-show.
Yes.
As it should be.
Next match that we're going to see, the tag teams are going to square off. Authors of Pain, AOP, versus The Bar, or Tabar, or Debar, depending who you're talking to.
Poor Big Show just standing back there.
Big Show
in the background, like, there I am, yeah.
At least he's not smiling. The graphic that they used on SmackDown, you had Sheamus and Cesaro looking menacing. And you had Big Show in the back with a big grin on his face.
Hey, remember me? I was a face a week ago. That's what he does.
Listen. These are 2 very physical tag teams. Strong guys. I think at this point, we're all pleasantly surprised at how well Sheamus and Cesaro have gelled together and have become a true tag team. It's hard not to think of them as a team anymore. They work really, really well together. They work great matches with other people. AOP are machines of destruction. They're finally getting the level of booking that they deserve, as far as being big tanks that plow through the opposition. What do you guys think? What kind of match are we looking forward to here? A good one? A bad one? What do we got?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting match. I think AOP, well, I'm going to say AOP for the win because they needed a lot more than the Bar. And because if you listen to our show, I was very against how they won the tag team titles.
Yep.
Like, it took away from them being monsters that Seth Rollins took them to the limit in a competitive match, and they had the 2-on-1 advantage. So they need this win to kind of counteract that. And with
it goes exactly into what we were saying just previously. It would not have been a shame. It wouldn't have been terrible for Seth Rollins to be demolished by the experienced tag team. It wouldn't have made him look weak.
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. So
if anything, it would have brought more heat on Dean Ambrose because he put Seth Rollins in a position where he went out there and got completely annihilated
for sure
by AOP, and that's kind of what you expected. We've got so many small, quick, athletic, just super athletic wrestlers nowadays. To me, this is more of an old school kind of match. It's just going to be 4 big guys in there wailing on each other and beating the shit out of each other.
And I was listening to the Busted Open Radio this morning, and Big Show was on it, and he was saying that actually they're going to be defending under the Freebird rules, so Big Show might actually be wrestling with either Sheamus or Cesaro.
Would be an interesting development. Yeah, I'm with you though, Silky. I got AOP going over in this one, but man, I look forward to this match. Old school slobber knocker, as JR would say. Man, these guys are going to beat the hell out of each other. And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised on this one. I think it's going to be a great match.
I think it's going to be fantastic, too. I think it's going to be a big slappy meat man slap fest. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is one of the matches, low key, will probably surprise a lot of people. So
Low key. Silky,
yeah,
that's
there
what
we
your
go.
people say, low key.
I know that's what.
There you
I
go.
like
See?
that. I feel that.
How you like that, Warren, coming with
I
the
know.
young people
my
language.
God, look at the middle-aged Canadian pulling out the pulling out the jargon here. But I have AOP going over as well. There's a consensus here. Next match that we have, the Cruiserweight Champion Buddy Murphy will defend against number one contender Mustafa Ali. I am a big 205 Live listener, fan, stan, perhaps. I enjoy it a lot. I was thrilled that they finally got the belt off of Cedric Alexander, not because he's a bad wrestler, au contraire, but his character is so stale. He was going nowhere. He was hitting a wall, and it was time for a change. It was time for a refresher. I was ecstatic that they gave it to Buddy Murphy, who is part of the revitalization of 205 Live. He's one of the reasons the division is so exciting ever since Enzo left. He's worked hard to stay in 205 Live. There's a lot of people who didn't want to see him there, felt he was better off in NXT, but he saw an opportunity there. He dropped the weight legitimately to compete there, and I'm really glad he has the title. Mustafa Ali, what can you say about this guy? He's extraordinary. We've seen him before. He's a joy to watch in the ring. This should be a fun match. Guys, what do you think about this matchup?
I like Buddy Murphy as well. I think you're right. The Australia show couldn't have come at a more perfect time to put him over in front of the home crowd. It was great. I'm sure it was a great moment for him. And I'm with you as far as Cedric Alexander. That's no knock against Cedric Alexander, but he's the.
And also the fact that he probably wrestled almost everyone there. Like there was no one. I mean, this was recycled like the third time he had to wrestle Buddy Murphy.
Yep.
And that's not in a row. That's just they had a match or two. Then he went on to do something else. Then they had another match. Then he went on to do something else. And now he went through pretty much the whole division. So they brought it back to Murphy because they were going to be in Australia. So I'm going with Murphy. I think it's going to be a good match, but it's not my style, or my taste for it.
Yeah, Murphy's a lot of fun to watch.
I like Murphy because he's he's kind of the anti-cruiserweight. He can still fly with them.
Agreed.
He's more about ground and pound and
strength.
Strength.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what makes him exciting. And that's, to me, for those people who say styles make matches, you got pretty much Buddy Murphy against anybody in that division is going to be a conflicting style because he's not the high flyer. He's the strength guy. And it's going to take somebody doing something really special to beat him. And, that's a credit to 205 Live and the way that they've built Buddy Murphy up. He is somebody that's different. And so whoever does finally take the title off him, it's going to be a nice rub for them to get it. So I'm with you. I'm with you guys again. It doesn't make for the most, interesting debate when we all agree on everything. But shit, I can't see Buddy Murphy losing this one. I love Mustafa Ali. He tore the house down. Sure. Alexander at WrestleMania. They were great. But I think it's too early for Buddy Murphy to drop the belts. I got Murphy as well.
And Daniel Price agrees, too early for Murphy to drop it, and I concur as well. But my only concern here is that they don't have enough time to put on a proper cruiserweight match. That's my only concern. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to this match. All right, next one that we have, our Survivor Series men's match, Team Raw, captained by, is Braun captain? I think so, I guess.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, they never really established who's the captain of the Raw team. Well, no, wasn't it supposed to be Corbin? He was supposed to be in the match.
Right, yeah, I think Corbin is the captain, but
he's not in the match. Yeah, that's right. He's not in the match. Anyway, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Smiling Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe, Jeff Hardy, Shane McMahon, The Miz, and Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I think you meant the best in the world, Shane McMahon.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, I forgot. Apologies. Yeah, you got to put the gimmick over, right? I'm usually a big Survivor Series guy. I really like the Survivor Series. I love the gimmick. I enjoy the drama that comes with it. Usually it's one of the pay-per-views I look most forward to. I'm a little dry on it this year. Maybe it's because there hasn't been much of a build. Maybe it's because I'm fed up with the stakes. But there's... I have trouble getting excited. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that we keep seeing Shane McMahon in these matches, and, there are people who tune in to see what kind of dumb shit Shane McMahon's going to do. Like, what's he going to jump off of? What kind of ridiculous, up is he going to take in the match? And
Shane McMahon's going to be the sole survivor.
He is not going to be the sole survivor.
Well, he was last year on the SmackDown side.
Was the last one.
Absurd.
And here's the thing. Why would you want Shane McMahon on your team this year? He's the guy who cost SmackDown the match last year because he thought that he could trust Triple H. For fuck's sake.
He's
But he was also the guy that was outlasted all the other guys. So why wouldn't you want him in that sense?
Well,
I like the SmackDown team aside from Shane McMahon. You talk about the other guys.
I'm going SmackDown on this one just because I'm a Miz fan. So
yeah, Miz has been great. I love Rey Mysterio in there. Of course, Randy Orton's always great.
Randy Orton's not in there.
Oh no, I'm thinking Jeff Hardy. Sorry, Jeff Hardy is always great. He's always going to deliver something good. And and Samoa Joe, you talk about a guy.
That bastard, you call him Sloppy Joe.
Sorry about that, Scott Steiner. Sloppy Joe there on the SmackDown side of things. You talk about a guy that needs a win.
Yeah,
Get Samoa Joe a win, for Christ's sake. This guy has been jobbing to, I say jobbing. I mean, it's the wrong term, but I mean, Warren, you've lamented this for a long time about how Samoa Joe is so overdue for a win.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
This guy on the winning side is something. Look,
does it count as a win if he's eliminated but the team end up winning? Is it a win for him?
He's on this winning team, so
I mean, I guess he has to take it since, that's the closest thing he'll get to a win. But
I was so convinced, so sure that they were putting the title on Samoa Joe during his feud with AJ. I was 100% convinced that they were going to do it because he was doing such a great job again as a heel. But he's done a great job as a heel in every feud he's been in. But he drops the ball in every big match he's in. And at some point, your monster psychopath or sociopath, maybe more in his case, is not going to be a believable monster if he loses the big matches all the time.
That's the point. And, Silky and I lamented for some time that when we finally got the Samoa Joe Brock Lesnar match in the middle of Brock Lesnar's Universal title run, that was the match that everybody said Brock might actually lose this one. And there was
like he was the only one that never showed any fear and took it to Brock.
Damn right.
Pretty much owned Brock up until the pay-per-view.
Until the match. Then let's not forget it was during this feud here.
Throughout most of the match.
Exactly. And this was the feud where he cut that promo on Paul Heyman. Where he whispered in his ear and all that shit.
It was brilliant. And for all the rematches that we get on Raw, I mean, how many times do we complain about seeing the same matches over and over and over again? That's one we never saw again.
Yeah.
So it made perfect sense, especially in Survivor Series
we
season.
got to it was they had the four-way, few pay-per-views down the road where it was Brock, Joe,
Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it made perfect sense, especially here in Survivor Series season. You put the title on Joe, and then you get that Joe and Brock Lesnar rematch. The story wrote itself. So, I mean, we're getting sidetracked on Samoa Joe. The guy's great. I'm
going SmackDown.
It's a tough choice for me because the way that it seems like the way the Universal title in particular is presented, Raw is presented as the A show, the better show, so on and so forth. And when you see what they're doing with guys like Strowman and more so Drew McIntyre, I have a hard time seeing Drew McIntyre take a loss here. So begrudgingly, I'm going to go with Raw just because I feel like the Strowman and McIntyre push isn't quite done yet. And I don't think there's anybody on the SmackDown side of things that I can see. I can't see any of those guys outlasting both Braun and Drew McIntyre. I think one of those guys makes it to the end.
Sorry, go ahead, Silky.
I said I think Braun takes himself out. Because he's already said he don't give a fuck about Survivor Series. He was the second one, actually.
He was another
actually, he
guy
was
on
the first
Raw.
one that night that said he didn't give a shit about the Survivor Series and the team and Raw and all of that. So
He just wants
I
Corbin.
yeah,
That's right.
And I feel like Corbin is going to goad him into putting his hands on him so he can lose that match with Corbin and the match with Lesnar just to fuck with him more. So
That's fair.
I
point.
think it comes down. I like your idea of Drew winning, but I'm still going with SmackDown. I think it's time for Miz to get a big win. So I'm going SmackDown, and I'm taking a step further and say Miz will be one of the survivors.
All right then.
I am 100% behind a Miz win, but I think the problem that we're coming into here in that respect is Drew McIntyre's push. 2 weeks ago, not only did he fight Kurt Angle, but he toyed with him.
Oh, he embarrassed Kurt Angle.
He embarrassed him. That right there is probably to this stage in his career, that is his biggest win, because it establishes him as a monster, as a guy who doesn't care, respect, doesn't give a shit. He's a legend, doesn't give a shit. I'm going to mess with you. Beats him with his own hold. Beats him with an ankle lock.
Yeah, you don't see that too often.
No,
So
not these days.
So we go into Survivor Series here, and I think that momentum is going to carry. I really, really think McIntyre is going to be the sole survivor. I really do. It's gonna it's Kevin Nash in 1994 all over again, where he's going to take out everyone. Maybe not take out everyone, but he's going to stay in there. He's going to be dominant. I do think that Baron Corbin is gonna mess around with Braun Strowman so that Braun stays protected. But Drew's your man here. It's hard not to go with Raw just because of the way they're booking Drew right now.
And hopefully McIntyre's title run ends up being a little bit better than Diesel's in the mid '90s.
Oh my God,
that was a good title.
Keep
run.
our fingers crossed for that one.
I was a Diesel fan, so that was a good title run.
Okay.
Didn't you see the chart he did where the numbers were up through the roof when he was?
Yeah, okay.
You know what? Kelly had a better title run than Kevin Nash did.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Watch
right.
him now, man. That's so disrespectful.
All right, moving on. Next match, our women's Survivor Series match. We have Team Raw, whose captain is Alexa Bliss, but is not fighting. No, hang on.
No,
it's Mickie James now, the captain, right?
No, Alexa's the kind of like Corbin. She's the captain, but she's not in the match.
Anyway, it's all too confusing. Mickie James, Nia Jax, Natalya, Tamina, and Ruby Riott against Team SmackDown, composed of Carmella, Asuka, Naomi, Sonya Deville, and a mystery woman. Because Charlotte was supposed to be in there, but she is not going to be in there because she's in another match later on. So there's a couple of moving parts here, isn't there? First and foremost, we have perhaps a significant one in the person of Nia Jax. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in this match, and that should be very telling as to what the future will hold for Nia, perhaps in the way she'll be treated going forward here, because there's a lot of reports coming out that at first, at first when the incident happened on Monday night, the feeling backstage was like, well, shit happens, But then as they realized the amplitude of the injury, some things were happening backstage. Nia apparently is getting a bit of heat now backstage, and some things are bubbling up to the surface in regards to her attitude and to how she works. Well, anyway, we've all seen the stuff on Twitter and on social media. Don't necessarily have to get into it, but I feel like this is still something that may have a component here that may have something to do with the outcome of the match, or at least how her outcome will be treated. Then on the other side, there's a mystery woman, on SmackDown who hasn't been announced?
Nikki Cross.
Oh, you think so?
No.
That'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting, but it's probably gonna go to Mandy Rose.
You got to figure
Yeah.
Mandy Rose after what happened
You
the other
gotta
day.
figure it's gonna be Mandy Rose. So, but either way, Raw's gonna win it just because there's way more star power on Raw, and it's none on SmackDown hardly.
Yeah,
Because Asuka's star has
I was gonna say I would
fucking
disagree.
gone through the dirt.
If not for,
Naomi, is not the big star of the women's division anymore. Carmella does the dance break and stuff, so she's just a comedy act. And Sonya Deville hasn't even really won a big match.
No.
Or really
We're
any
at
match.
we're at the cusp of her push right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I would say Raw has to win it because at least most of the people on there are stars right now.
yeah, it feels awkward to pick Raw to win both the men's and the women's Survivor Series match. But at the same
I don't
time,
know. I think I go overall. Like, I don't think it matters the Raw and women's. Like, I don't think any of that matters. I just think the overall of Raw's gonna win. We know it's gonna come down to Bryan and Lesnar. So Raw's gonna win 3 or however many, and SmackDown's gonna win 3. It's gonna end off on that note.
Okay.
When Lesnar and Bryan will kind of win supremacy for their show. So I think Raw. It's safe to say Raw's gonna win this one.
yeah,
Just because there's literally nobody on SmackDown. It's Raw versus whoever these bitches are.
the wild card to me is Asuka, just because I keep thinking in the back of my mind, and it's probably naive on my part, but
Is it the same part of your mind that thinks the revival's going to actually, do well?
no, that would be the logical side of my mind.
Yeah.
Knows that the revival's going to get what's due sooner rather than later. But no, I gotta think that at some point somebody back there remembers what they had with Asuka, and you're never going to get that streak back, and you're never going to undo all the shit that's been done to her since she won the Royal Rumble, and it looked like she was headed for the stratosphere, and it's just been kind of a downward slide since then. To me, she's the lone wild card on the SmackDown side of things. Maybe somebody back there says, we can give this thing to Asuka, and nobody's going to look sideways at us. It's totally believable. As far as anybody else on the SmackDown side being the sole survivor or the one to bring the whole thing home, yeah, I'm with Silky. There's so much more star power over there on the Raw side. You could see Ruby Riott.
Mm-hmm.
See that being a moment for her. You could see
no.
could see that being a coming out party for Ruby Riott. I could totally see that.
Well, I mean, then that's the same token for anyone, because Ruby Riott has probably lost more than any of the bitches on SmackDown.
No, but she's lost in tag team matches.
Sonya Deville ain't won a match.
Tag team matches, though. You put Ruby Riott in a solo,
and she loses.
but
how many matches she had? She had like the match with Charlotte, and that was it.
No, she's lost to Becky. She lost to Bayley. She's lost to every single person she's been in the ring with. I'd
be okay. I could see Ruby.
They
Riott
pushed her when the Riot Squad first debuted. She was getting those singles wins, but now she just loses. So no, I don't think she's at the cusp of a push like Sonya Deville, who, even though she loses, she doesn't wrestle as often as Ruby Riott. So,
but I think
can the push on Sonya more than Ruby, because we're just now starting to see it's a big thing for Sonya to be even in this match.
For sure.
Foregone conclusion that they were going to put Ruby Riott in the worst segment of revealing someone ever.
Yeah, we're gonna have a match.
The whole point of that.
Yeah, we're gonna have Sasha and Bayley to reveal that Ruby Riott's the.
And then why did it would have made more sense for Ruby to be the one that jumps both of them, gets the match thrown out, and then gets announced as the third member or the fifth member, whatever member.
Where can you anybody else?
I don't give a fuck about this match, so.
Yes.
Daniel Price in the chat actually sums up my thoughts to an extent. He says Raw. He's calling SmackDown Raw's way too dysfunctional. Natty and Ruby will fight, and that's one thing that's important. They are starting up a program between Natalya and Ruby Riott, so that's one thing that indeed I think they're going to push storyline wise. Only way Raw wins is if Nia runs roughshod. but she won't after putting Becky out, which is kind of what I'm thinking too. He says, please let Asuka be the sole survivor. I'm kind of on that side as well. I think it's fantastic that Sonya Deville is being put in this position because I think she's fantastic. I think she's underrated, not underappreciated. I think she's underrated, and they need to have her shine. And I think it's good that they're doing that with Ruby Riott as well on the other side. Putting her with Natalya, you kidding me? She's a ring general. They're going to have fantastic matches together. And it's good that they're starting to elevate other women as well, aside from the usual 2 or 3 ladies that they're always pushing, or maybe 4, Charlotte and Becky and Sasha and Bayley. So it's good that they're mixing it up a bit. I also think that Asuka is the right person to win this because, sure, Becky Lynch is injured right now, but she won't be injured forever, and she's going to need an opponent.
Yeah.
Right up until the injury, in my mind, the SmackDown Women's title for WrestleMania was Becky versus Asuka. But now, especially there's a lot of rumors coming out that now they're targeting Ronda versus Becky for WrestleMania in the main event, mind you, but that's a whole other conversation. I think they're going to get Asuka and Becky Lynch out of the way before that because honestly, there's leading into WrestleMania, into Royal Rumble. Who else is Becky going to fight?
Yeah, good point. It's a good point.
And Asuka does need her shin. She has her shins, but she needs her sheen back. Yeah, and I think this is a good way to start getting it back.
I don't think she gets it by going into a feud with Becky.
No, but I mean, getting her sheen starting by being the sole survivor of Survivor Series. Then people going like, oh yeah, she did that last year too, and she's doing it again this year. Damn, she's good. And then also at the same time, she can easily go and claim a title match at the same time.
Well, that's what's so odd. Again, sole survivor last year, wins the Royal Rumble. Chance to be the sole survivor again this year, and yet, in between, it's just been dog shit. It's just been a mess.
And I think, honestly, I would just find someone else to put over instead of Asuka to put in front of the buzzsaw, the groundswell that is Becky 316, as people are calling her right now.
Which is completely absurd, but that's another conversation.
That's not completely
absurd. It's completely absurd.
How's that completely
It's not absurd.
We're on someone else's show, so we're not going to do this shit.
Fantasy book. Shayna Baszler drops the NXT title to Kairi Sane on Saturday night, shows up for the mystery spot on SmackDown Live as the 5th woman, and comes in and kicks ass. It's never going to happen, but
that's
it would be fun.
That's not actually far-fetched. So,
it would be.
I mean, think about it. Ember Moon did it.
But you
dropped the title, and then the very next night she was in the Women's Royal Rumble.
You'll put her in you probably put her on the same show with Ronda Rousey, though, yes or no? Keep her on SmackDown Live and.
No, you keep her on SmackDown.
That's fair.
Because
just for a
you
while.
put her on Raw, she exposes Ronda even more than she already is exposed.
Fair
because Baszler has the same background as Ronda, but difference is she did a couple years in the PC before she even moved up to NXT, so she had really time to hone her craft, where Ronda just got put in that spotlight, WrestleMania, and all of
win
that.
The title right away, yeah.
I think if it was me, I would never put them on the same show because it would just Ronda's your money right now, and you put someone that has the same credibility on the same show but does it 10 times better. It devalues Ronda as the face of your company.
Could be.
So I have SmackDown winning. Silky has Raw. Chris?
I think I'm going to go with SmackDown. I think, hearing your argument about Asuka being the sole survivor, it kind of got me back to mine as well. So I'll stick with SmackDown on that one as well.
Really? Because he said Asuka could be the sole survivor?
That was my thought going into it, and I tried to talk myself out of it. But then Warren presented such a fantastic argument as he does here on the Warren show.
He just said he thought Asuka was going to, you know what?
I'm a silver-tongued devil, guys. I'm a silver-tongued.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Next match. Let's do this. All right. This is the criminally underappreciated match of the night.
The
underappreciated. Seth Rollins versus...
in the match.
Yeah.
The what?
Underappreciated by the guys who were actually in the match.
Yeah, as well. Underappreciated by everyone. Can you imagine we're getting Seth Rollins, Tyler Black against Shinsuke Nakamura, and no one's excited? You know, like this.
Yeah,
This
I think
is a legit organic dream match right here.
I think honestly it could be some misdirection. They're trying to downplay it so that when this match goes out and does what we're pretty sure it will do and steal the fucking show, you know, it got you thinking like, oh, Seth isn't involved. Seth doesn't really care about this match. How good could it be? And then boom, they hit you with a classic. I think it's going to be probably one of the matches of the night. And I'm going Shinsuke Nakamura for the win.
I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping for everything Silky just said. You better bring your A game, Chris, because right now Silky just laid it all out.
You know, here's my one concern. And I don't see it happening, but it's kind of in the back of my mind, probably because I'm a huge Kevin Owens guy. And I was so much looking forward to the Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman match at SummerSlam.
What, the squash match?
The squash match.
Okay.
Where Strowman came out and basically disposed of Kevin Owens in about 30 seconds, and it was a complete waste of time. My only concern is that there's so much stock being put into this feud between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose that I could totally see this being the throwaway match where whether it's Ambrose getting involved or whatever the case may be, and they just say, you know what? Fuck this match. We're going to use this as an opportunity to further this feud between Rollins and Ambrose,
as which they should, because that is their
and I think they should
bread
too.
Butter in that feud. So,
but my concern is that they'll do it in such a way to where the match will become secondary to the feud between Rollins and Ambrose, and we see it end too quickly. That's my only concern.
I think they're gonna get a decent amount of time. Maybe I think it should kick off the show, in my opinion. But
for sure,
I think that you don't need Dean running in, honestly. I think Dean's been doing the mind games, the quiet, showing up like he cut that awesome promo, but you really haven't heard much from Dean. And I think you take it that step further, you just do the whole simple Dean Ambrose music hit just as it looks like Seth is going to put away Nakamura, but no Dean. He turns around, eats a Kinshasa, 1, 2, 3, Nakamura wins.
And I mean, we've seen
a shot of Dean in the crowd after the fact, just laughing.
And we've seen Shinsuke do that before with Jeff Hardy. What was it? Was it at Money in the Bank where he low blowed him while the referee wasn't looking and he rolled him up and won the title? That's when he won the U.S. title.
He Kinshasa'd him. Like he hit him and he dick kicked him, and then
he Kinshasa and he won.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It was like
it was like that.
That could have been on SmackDown.
And here's the one, again, that would be my only concern about the match. I think Nakamura wins the match. The one thing I could see, the one curveball that could potentially come in is everybody's expecting Dean Ambrose to get involved in some capacity. It could be one of those situations where it's so obvious that maybe somebody in the back goes, you know, this is really too fucking obvious. Maybe we just let these guys go out there and have a great match.
Now,
I'm hoping that's the case.
I don't see that happening.
I don't see it happening.
It benefits everyone for Dean to get involved because, one, you get Nakamura that big win that, you know, he needs. I mean, and it's sad to say that in 2018, he's the U.S. fucking champ. He is the man under the man on SmackDown. And he needs a big win because he hasn't gotten any. So you give him that big win. You further that feud with Seth and Dean. It's like a win-win situation for everybody. And it doesn't even, as long as they don't do like him running in, beating him up or something, like all it takes, music plays, eats Kinshasa, 1, 2, 3, and then you show Dean just coming down, just laughing.
Yeah.
You know, like, you fucking lost. And Seth being pissed off because he took his eye off the ball.
Short and sweet. Yeah, you got Nakamura going over.
Story.
You got Nakamura in this one as well.
Yeah, I think we
got Nakamura.
Started with Nakamura.
Yeah. I don't think there's any plausible scenario that Shinsuke doesn't win here. I think we all agree. We might disagree on the details on how we get there, but I think this is pretty much Nakamura's to lose. Second to last match, Ronda Rousey, the Raw Women's Champion, versus Becky Lynch's handpicked substitution, Charlotte Flair.
It's my Ronda face. We gotta-
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It's when Ronda walks down the aisle, smiling and high-fiving fans and having a grand old time, and then she jumps in the ring, and it's like she notices her opponent, she goes, and then the angry face comes on. Just stop it.
They have to
Stop it already.
They have to turn her heel. They just have to turn her heel. This is how the Ronda Rousey character is really going to work. I'm not buying her as a babyface. I think her promos aren't very good either. Not that she can't deliver. I think the content is stupid. The millennial stuff that she was pulling the other night, I did not understand why she was talking about avocado toast when referring to Becky Lynch. It just didn't connect. It was too far out there.
It's like
They're the same fucking age.
Yeah, like literally, I saw someone post. Becky Lynch is like 2 days
That's
fucking
ridiculous.
younger.
Yeah.
Like
know,
Ronda was
you know.
born 2 days before this bitch.
Doesn't
So
make any sense.
it doesn't make any sense that she's calling us like, so you're a millennial and you're entitled. You're everything you're saying she is because your birthdays are 2 fucking days apart. Come on, like somebody had to have a fucking brain. Like, I mean,
Somebody.
I would feel at least better knowing if someone was like brought it up and they were like, they said say, and you're like, fuck it, you pay my checks, I'll say whatever the fuck you want, you know. But I wanted just some kind of record where someone said, I vetoed this, like, I think this is a bad thing, this is stupid as shit.
It's going to come out in some shoot interview like, 5 years
and then
from now.
I'll feel better about it because right now it's just like, this had to be approved by a life form.
Yeah.
It was written by a life form.
Hopefully carbon-based.
An higher ranking life form. And they said, let's do that. It's like the H&M ad all over again.
Yeah, it looks let me jump in here real quickly because, one of the things that Silky loves to give me shit about is when the Revival loses. And I finally called him out on it. I said, look, all right, I get shit when the Revival lose because I actually say I root for the Revival. I let everybody know I'm open and honest about it. So I said, I put Silky on the spot. I said, right now, Silky Baines, who are you going to root for? You got to pick somebody so that when they fucking lose, I can give you a hard time. You know who he picks? Fucking Ronda Rousey.
No, of course.
Like the one person who's pretty much guaranteed to
He's
win.
protected. Super protected.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
That's a bit of a cop-out.
That's a total cop-out.
It's a bit of a cop-out.
First of all, that's genius. That's smart.
It's a cop-out.
It's such a Silky move.
There is no me tearing my hair out or anything like that because you bet on a pony that you think is going to win, right?
I guess so.
Why are you backing?
We're not talking
you're
about
just mad
betting,
because you're
though.
backing a losing horse.
Now hang on.
Shot in the Revival, and you put me on the spot right there, so I had to come with something. So I said fucking Ronda Rousey because I know that bitch ain't gonna lose.
Look, listen. Let's say there you're like, okay, let's put Warren Hayes in a fight versus Dracula, and you're like, oh, well, of course I'm gonna put my money on Dracula. There's no fight there. You know what I mean? If you had picked like, I don't know, Jinder Mahal, then Silky, I would have respected that.
Yeah,
like. Look at it. He's going out there. He's trying something.
How is Bobarooski in the chat room saying, be nice to Silky?
Yeah, thank you.
Silky
nice
gives me shit
First
nonstop
of all,
on the
I'm the only
show.
black person here. I had to invite my fucking self to be on the show.
Skippy.
And all you guys
and
have
now
done
you see why,
is give me
goddammit.
shit. And you've got the whiteboard with Speez with like 36 E's and then small letters fucking benchmark.
You know what it really is? It's because you got a whiteboard, not a blackboard. That's
I know.
what it is. What he's upset about
You know what I say about that? That whiteboard ain't shit without the black letters. Boom. Power to the people.
But anyway, we've hijacked,
You can
hijacked enough of this segment.
You can keep your tuna salad, Silky.
There you go, buddy. I got Ronda winning.
Yeah, I mean, Ronda. I think this
is a no-brainer at this point.
Yeah, it's no brainer that Ronda's gonna win this. It may have been the blessing in disguise because I don't think Becky could have afforded to eat this loss with the momentum she has.
I disagree, though. I disagree. I think Becky is bulletproof. She's always been bulletproof. If people have been sticking by her, cheering her throughout all of 2017 into 2018, where she was on a constant loss. She's
doing
losing, doing nothing. And she'd come out and people would pop like nuts. Now, the minute they give us a reason to pop for her, we're popping harder because, yes, finally, they're doing something with her. Becky Lynch is bulletproof. She could take the hit here. Ronda would win because they're not in the mind of Vince, in the mind of WWE right now. Ronda is untouchable, at least until WrestleMania, for sure. So she would have won, cemented her again as a top tier competitor. Becky loses, doesn't matter. She moves on to the next fight, and that's that. And she looks just as strong, not a problem.
I guess what I'm saying is that you don't want Becky losing because, I mean, one, if they're gonna still try to make this heel turn work and not. I mean, I would just read the room and turn her face because that's where we're at. But it's just going to martyr her and make her more over and screw up more of your plans because now the fans have got to go with what the writers want or else the shit just doesn't make sense. And then that's when you get people on the internet bitching about it because the shit doesn't make sense because they're trying to make something work that's clearly not.
But
it's like they did with Roman Reigns
forever. For your sins, man.
No, I mean that's listen. That's the thing. That's what everybody complained about with Roman Reigns. And look, let's not forget. Right after Becky went apeshit and turned on Charlotte, people want to say, "Oh, well, Becky was never a heel. She was, fans always blah 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 blah." Look, the first night she came out after SummerSlam, she tried to shit on the crowd.
You
people weren't behind me, and you people didn't support me, and all that shit. And the fans were like, the fuck are you talking about? We've been here the whole time. We're still here right now. They just cheered more.
Like, it was... That's why their comparison to Stone Cold is... Which you may not like, but if you think about it, right now, her career path is taking that Stone Cold-esque thing.
For sure.
Like, she hasn't really done anything different, but now she's even more insanely over. And then this was like the WrestleMania 13 moment with him passing out with all the blood. And then you have Becky now take this punch and get her face knocked the fuck off. And she's still fighting. She's covered in blood. She's standing there at the top of the stairs.
She's concussed.
Moment. It's like...
Yeah, but you know what? Somebody made the point earlier. Stone Cold never would have been pulled off a pay-per-view because he got a broken nose. There's no fucking way. And it's a different world today.
The thing is... What really dropped her from the pay-per-view was the fucking concussion. Because now that the CTE, they do not fuck around with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's just why it's different times. It's
definitely different times. But so in her cutting that promo was like, I could still whoop her ass even with a concussion. And, I hate when they say broken face, but whatever.
No, that's just stupid. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
But they're probably saying broken face. Honestly, they're saying broken face. You'll notice did they mention the concussion? I don't remember.
Yeah, they did because that was the first thing she led off with is I have a severe concussion and a broken face.
Okay, and the broken face because I think that just visually or at least in the mind of people, if you say my face is broken, it's like ooh, it sounds worse than I have a broken nose. Everyone's like, what? You have a broken nose and you're not wrestling? What the hell's the matter with you? Kind of thing, because he just broke his nose.
I'm thinking though more. It's probably the orbital bone. And
it could be. Who knows?
Shit.
Who knows?
So, and that's what I would. Even if it was just merely just a broken nose, I would have said I have a broken nose. I would have listed off. I think it would have made her even more badass. Like I'm still here. I could have beat Ronda with a broken nose, a broken orbital bone, a broken cheekbone, a broken jaw, whatever. Just list them all out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Not just the generic, oh, my face is broken. Because that makes, to me, that takes away.
But anyway, I think the silver lining is that we're just pushing this match back to a bigger stage, probably with in a better position as well. Like I said, there's a lot of rumors going around that WWE is actually thinking that this might be the main event of WrestleMania. First time that the women would be over. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We're a long ways there. I think we all agree that Charlotte is losing here. There's no reason for her to win. Let's move on to the main event.
He was losing to Oscar.
Brock Lesnar versus the new WWE champion, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan. Someone's shaking. Why are you shaking your head, Chris?
This ain't it, man. I was not pleased with the Daniel Bryan taking AJ Styles' spot in this match. Look, we talked about it on our show on Monday night before we found out that this was all going to go down. And one of the things that, I've made no secret of the fact that I'm a Brock Lesnar guy. I think the fact that he only shows up every now and again is, makes him that much more interesting to me personally. And I know he's not for everybody. Look, the fact of the matter is, I said it on Monday night, when that guy walks in the building, every single person in that arena is on their feet and they want to get a picture of Brock Lesnar. They want to get a video of Brock Lesnar. The guy is still he's just a freak of nature like that. People just go apeshit for that guy. When he's motivated to go out there and look, that term gets thrown out a lot when Brock Lesnar's motivated. Brock Lesnar, I feel, is going to do what the company tells him to do. And Silky, you've talked about this, and this is where I defer to him because he's been the guy in the ring. If somebody tells me you can go out there and do 10 minutes and you guys can break out a million different moves and you can do this, that, and the other thing, or you can just go out there and hit a fucker with 5 F5s and be the winner, he's going to go out there and hit somebody with 5 F5s and be the winner. No question about it.
Yeah, it's wrestling, so we all get paid for this. So I'll do whatever they fucking want.
But here's the thing.
I should have a business card that says, if your money's green, I'll get in the ring.
There you go.
I don't give a fuck. You want me to come out with a plunger on my ass? Fuck it.
But the thing of it is, after the match that we got between those two last year at Survivor Series.
I got $20 for that, by the way. Just saying. The $20. 25?
That we got last year from those two at Survivor Series, I was so looking forward to this rematch.
Oh, for sure. And
that I'm actually looking outstanding.
I think that they should have saved the heel turn. Still have Daniel Bryan win, because this would be a totally different conversation had he not done the heel turn and bashed AJ's brains in after American History X style after the match. If he had just won the match, we could have had face Daniel against heel Lesnar. And then even if he won or lost, he does good. He could use that, be pissed off, and use that to take out his frustrations on AJ. But now that he's done this thing and heels, how you basically turn Brock Lesnar into a face for this match.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They're not all together. It feels awkward saying this. They're not altogether different guys, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, in terms of their approach in the ring and so on and so forth. But for whatever reason, I totally buy AJ Styles having a competitive match with Brock Lesnar. I have a really hard time buying that with Daniel Bryan. I feel like Brock Lesnar should fucking wipe the floor with Daniel Bryan.
He should wipe the floor with anyone he gets in the fucking ring with, though. Even AJ Styles. And that was the thing, is that AJ Styles took a lot of ass whooping, a massive ass whooping, and started fighting back and catching, using his speed. Daniel Bryan can do the same fucking thing, and when it comes to it, Daniel Bryan looks like he just has that face that he can take a much more of an ass whooping than AJ Styles.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's for whatever reason,
because of his size, you just know that Daniel Bryan's gonna get his ass whooped.
What I'm terrified of, to be perfectly frank, is Daniel Bryan being dropped on his neck too much. That's what I'm afraid of. When he starts hitting the Germans, that's when I'm going to start cringing, because did you see how he was tossing the Singh brothers on Monday?
Everybody, you know what? I really want to know what the Singh brothers did, because everybody fucks them over.
Oh yeah, Randy Orton fucked him up something awful.
Yeah, threw him up then flipped the motherfucker in air.
Yep, that's true.
Head first on the table. But I am a little worried about that. But honestly, I want to propose this: what if Daniel Bryan wins? How big of a dick could he be, and better for his heel turn, if somehow he pulled off what everyone's thinking is unthinkable, which is beating Brock fucking Lesnar?
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, Silky, you kind of stole my thunder, because that's what I'm going for. Right now, for the past 2 weeks, I find that WWE, ever since Roman announced that he was that he had leukemia and he was taking some time off to go get better. They've been just switching shit around, trying some things out, surprising us with, okay, we're going with this person here and we're doing this, and look at that. Suddenly out of the blue, AJ Styles loses for no apparent reason other than Daniel Bryan is now a heel. I could actually see this. I could see Daniel Bryan pulling out some kind of win over Lesnar, whereas no one is expecting it.
Yeah,
and it would blow our minds.
Will fucking disintegrate if Daniel Bryan, especially if he can tap out Brock Lesnar.
And could you imagine then everyone's talking about Becky Lynch, then everyone's talking about Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
like everyone's talking about WWE at this point, and that's not bad.
It would make the heel turn make a lot more sense
For
because
sure.
again, you're using the win over Lesnar to cement this heel turn. You know, where you use that as ammunition to say, for Daniel Bryan to say, that's why I turned heel, because I needed to be this guy. Nobody would have had face happy, yes, Daniel Bryan beating Brock Lesnar. I had to dig deep and I had to become the guy that I am now in order to beat Brock Lesnar. From a storytelling perspective, it makes perfect sense.
It makes total sense. And like I say, it could be another thing of misdirection because everyone was basically, not everyone saying, but there was a lot of debate on AJ actually winning this one since they had such a great match last year and Brock won, that this year it was AJ's year to get the win back.
Mm-hmm.
So soon as Daniel Bryan was slid in by winning the WWE title, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion to most people that Brock Lesnar is going to win this match. And that's why I'm picking Daniel Bryan to win the match, because I think it's misdirection. And I think in the long run, it's going to be better for his heel turn to say he fucking conquered the conqueror.
Exactly.
You know?
I agree. And it's a bold prediction, to be fair, but I think it's the most interesting outcome. And maybe maybe there's just someone. What's that?
I said our tablet died, so I can't do my Negro Damas sounder.
Yeah,
but
I wanted to do his Negro Damas music for the Daniel Bryan pick as well.
But I think it's really the most it's the most interesting outcome. It's the thing that might actually even temper some people as to, why'd they put the Universal back on Brock? Why is he back as the Universal champion?
Make Brock endear Brock more to the fans.
It'll just make it more interesting. And then why not? Why not have a cross-brand feud? Maybe Brock will just want to get back at Daniel Bryan at some point. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I'm gonna be the black sheep here. I'm gonna be the black sheep.
Why does everything bad have to be black? You racist motherfucker.
I'm gonna be the black sheep here. Look, I don't see Brock Lesnar losing this one. I think WWE's shown time and time again that they're willing to go back to that Brock money train. The fact of the matter is, the guy's still a huge draw. People still want to see what Brock Lesnar can do, and I don't know. I just think
it's hard.
They're big fans of him over there, and as much as what you guys are saying makes sense, and I won't be surprised if it happens, I still think that Brock Lesnar comes out on top on this.
And it's hard to fault that logic. Of course, I'm just. I just want to try something. I just want him to try something. This is really hopeful thinking on my part. So guys, that's the card. These are our predictions. We've gone through the entire card. Overall, if you were to give it the card a prediction, good show, bad show, or somewhere in between?
I'm going to go with good show. I actually think that SummerSlam for its warts, like the Kevin Owens Braun Strowman match, which really disappointed. I found that to be a really entertaining show, and again, it always depends on what you're going to compare it to. But within the WWE universe, I felt like that show really delivered, and I still feel like Survivor Series is still looked upon as one of the big shows of the year, and I fully expect everybody to come out and give a fantastic A+ effort. It may not be an A+ show, but I think there's enough going on there, and there are enough intriguing matchups that we haven't seen before with new guys like AOP coming through and, Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar, stuff like that. I think all in all, it's going to be an entertaining show. I'd be surprised if I showed up on Monday on the program talking about what a disappointment it was. Hopefully that's not the case. I honestly think it'll be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good show. I think that they have for every bullshit match like that tag team, whatever the fuck it is, you're going to have like sleepers like Nakamura and Rollins.
Yeah.
AOP and Bar, I think is going to be a really good match. When you break it down, even Charlotte and Ronda will be a good, entertaining match. It will be entertaining, possibly passably good on Ronda's end. I think Charlotte can really carry her and make her look great.
Agreed.
And so when you think about it, the good in this card outweighs really the only bad would be that tag team match. And then maybe I would say the SmackDown women's match, and that's just for build. And yeah, those are the only two matches I think that I really have low expectations.
We should be very sports entertained at the end of the day. So, very
I
much
agree.
so.
I have a tendency to agree with you guys. I think we're going to be in for a fun time, regardless. Chris, Silky, thank you for joining me. Why don't you let the good folks know one last time where they can find you on the internet and join in on the Speez and the Benchmark show?
tinyurl.com/Speez. Benchmark is the YouTube channel, and you can hit us up on Twitter and Periscope at Speez Benchmark. We are on every Monday night following Monday Night Raw and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. We're on live, and we would love for you guys to come and join us. And Warren, man, it is always a blast to be on your show. I mean, Silky's first time on the show. He invited himself this time, and hopefully we don't lose the video this time. We had,
cross fingers.
It happened last time, but no, really, Warren is, and those of you watching, Warren is one of those guys that really does his part to put over a lot of shows and a lot of different podcasts, including ours. So we're very grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much for the time, and you're always welcome on our show.
Anytime.
And hopefully we'll be back to see you sometime soon.
And the same. And we're only as strong as the parts that keep us together. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. Thanks to everyone who came in the chat, who's watching post live chat. And if you are watching this live, keep in mind tomorrow, Friday, on the 16th, I will be doing my own NXT War Games preview show or prediction show, I should say, with C. Danny Mac of the Undisputed Future podcast. So that will be a lot of fun. I want to thank Silky and Chris once again for joining me. This was a lot of fun, guys. Hope you had, and I hope everyone had a good time hanging out. And that's that. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Chris is still the worst.